So far, we've been able to work with routes to add content to our site, but a site is much more than just HTML. We need to be able to access other types of files like images or scripts. Now, Express provides a piece of middleware that takes care of this called static. Middleware is any library that can be called as part of the process of working with a site that then returns control back to Express. So the one that we need to use is called express.static, and it allows you to designate a folder for holding any sort of document or file that we want our users or our routes to have access to. It's pretty easy to integrate, so let's go ahead and take a look. Now, first off, I've added an extra folder right here with a name of public, and in that folder, I have some additional files. So for example, here I have a CSS document, and then I have an images folder with a bunch of subfolders with images in them, as well as a simple JavaScript file that we can use in our project. So in order to add this, first, I need to make sure that we are in the right branch for the current video. So if you're not already in the branch for this video, which is 0203B for beginning, then you need to issue a git checkout command and 0203B. Now I'm already on that branch, so I don't need to do it, but you can just type this command in your terminal or git bash and hit return. If you have some files that you haven't saved or that you need to overwrite, you'll need to issue a git stash command before this. So what I'll do is use an app.use command, and then I'll use express.static, and that is a method that Express has that will allow us to designate a folder. In this case, I want to designate the app/public folder to be available to any of our documents. So once I do this, it means that I can go into any one of my routes or application files. Let's go ahead and open the routes and open up index.html and add a link to one of our images. So this is just regular HTML. I can do img src, and in here I can refer to a file. So I've got this public folder, it's got an images folder, and the public folder would be the root. And in the images folder, I have a miscellaneous folder with a background file called background.jpg. So I can type all that in here, images, and then misc, and then background.jpg. I'm going to add an alt tag as well as a style that just makes this image a little bit smaller. It's a pretty large image that's meant to be a background for an entire site. So I'm just going to make it 300 pixels tall so that it doesn't take up the whole screen. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and save that. And then I will rerun the server. And then I'll refresh this page. And you can see the image right there. So because we have added this use statement and use this middleware called static, now this public folder becomes a root in our website, and anything we put in here is accessible to our site. So if I wanted to use this style sheet, all I need to do is add a link tag here, and I'll link it to the css/style.css document. Let's go ahead and close this tag out, and then refresh the page after we restarted the server. And when we reload, we should see this font be a little bit different and the image sort of go all the way to the edge. There's a lot more styles in that file, but we can see that it's actually working. Let's go ahead and add these into the other routes. I'm going to copy the image and the link and then go into speakers. And I'll need to add it to both of these. So I'll paste that right here, get rid of this welcome. And then in here, I'm going to need to refer to a different image. Actually, the image I'm going to add for each one of the speakers as it loops through the different speakers. So I need to add the image. I'll put it in between these. And some of these references might have to be a little different. So in here, I know that my images are in the images folder. And then for the speakers, I have a folder called speakers. And if you notice, all speakers are named like this with an _tn.jpg at the end. So I'm just going to make the alt tag speaker. speaker for each of these, and then the location of the image can be accessed using one of these variables. And then at the end, it'll have underscore tn.jpg. And I have a special element on my data.json file called short name that has a short name that I specifically developed to be the name of the image files. So if we close this out, I can type in short name right here, and that will give us access to the image. And these images are going to be in images and then slash speakers, and then item short name underscore tn.jpg. And I don't need the style tag. I don't need to make this 300 pixel stock because these images are pretty small. So let's go ahead and save that and cancel our server. Go ahead and rerun it and then refresh this page. This hasn't really changed. So let's go to the speakers route, and we should be able to see all the speakers, and also note that the titles are in the new font. So both our style sheet as well as the speaker is loading. So let's go ahead and add that to the individual speakers. So if I say /0 here, it should take me to the speaker. I'm going to copy the link tag once again, and I'll place that right over here. And then I need to grab the link to the image. So I'll grab it from here, and I'm going to put that before the summary right here. Now remember that in this particular route, the information for each speaker is actually in a variable called speaker. So I need to make sure that this item right here says speaker instead. Now there may be an error here. Let's go ahead and save this. I'll cancel this server running, and then I'll rerun it again. And once it starts the page, and it looks like we're able to get the speaker just fine. We're not getting the style sheet. That's because in this particular route, we're sort of in a subfolder /0. So if I wanted to refer to the style sheet, I would have to hit // to go back up a level and then find the CSS folder. And notice that when I'm calling the images, that's not a problem because I'm serving them from the root using this slash right here. So if I want to, I can just actually do the same thing for CSS. Make sure you put a slash right there. And since we did that here, we can also do that everywhere else. Let's go ahead and save that and make sure that it's all working. Control C to get the server to stop running, and then rerun it again. And once it starts going, we can refresh this page and see that the styles are loading. And we'll go back into the other pages and just check them to make sure. So Express has a really nice method called static that lets you designate a folder for holding any type of document. You can put anything you want in there, like CSS files, images, and scripts, and it becomes accessible through the root of our document. We can use that and just tell people to access any file directly. You can give them the URL of any files in that directory, or we can use them in the routes to create our page.